You know, in the world of combat sports, some names are known for pure power, and others for their incredible technique. But every now and then, a name comes along that just represents something more, a story of pure, unshakable resilience. So today, we're going to dive into the life of one of those absolute legends, Mark Schultz.
And that's not just some fancy phrase, That's really the core of his entire story. It speaks to a level of respect that you don't just earn on the mats. You earn it through a life of incredible highs and truly unimaginable lows.
And that's the real story we're unpacking here. This is about so much more than just athletic achievement. It's about that powerful, almost unbelievable connection between physical dominance and the kind of mental toughness that can withstand almost anything life throws at you. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with his roots in a wrestling dynasty, then cover his pioneering move into the octagon. From there, we'll touch on the infamous Foxcatcher tragedy, his rebirth in jiu-jitsu, and finally, the powerful legacy of resilience that he built.
Okay, first up, we have to start at the foundation, a wrestling dynasty. This is where the whole Schultz legend really began, with Mark and his brother Dave climbing to the absolute peak of their sport, side by side. I mean, the scale of what they accomplished is just staggering. Olympic gold, multiple NCAA championships. Mark and his brother Dave weren't just good, they were a total force of nature. To this day, they are still the most decorated brothers in American wrestling history. Think about that, a legacy that remains completely unmatched.
So, after basically conquering the entire wrestling world, Mark sets his sights on a completely new and way more brutal arena. This is him pioneering the octagon, a massive shift from the traditional mats to the unforgiving cage.
Now, to really get what he was jumping into, you've got to understand this term, no holds barred. This was not the polished, slick MMA we see today. Oh no, this was the Wild West of fighting, a raw, brutal test of a fighter's will and versatility.
And this timeline, wow, it just perfectly shows the massive leap he took. Just look at that gap. 12 years between winning Olympic gold and making his UFC debut. He wasn't some young kid trying something new. He was an established legend, putting it all on the line. And he did it against Gary Goodridge, a really dangerous heavyweight kickboxer. And he won.
And let me tell you, this was anything but an easy switch. As a master wrestler, his entire world was ground-based. All of a sudden, he's thrown into a world of striking and boxing, basically forced to learn a whole new language of combat on the fly and at the highest level of a brand new sport.
So how did he pull it off? Just raw physical power. Descriptions from back then paint this picture of a total powerhouse, hands like heavy pistons and a neck of solid granite. He proved that true athletic genius isn't about mastering just one thing, it's about being able to adapt and dominate in any arena.
But just as his career was taking off in this totally new, exciting direction, his life took a turn, a really dark, cinematic, and tragic turn.
And that brings us to, without a doubt, the most difficult chapter of his life, the Foxcatcher tragedy. This wasn't a test of physical strength. This was an unbelievable test of his inner fortitude.
You see, his time at Foxcatcher Farm, under the wing of the eccentric millionaire John DuPont, it just became this pressure cooker of intense psychological stress and isolation. It was a toxic environment that would have broken most people, even before the ultimate tragedy struck.
And then the absolute unthinkable happened. John DuPont murdered his brother, Dave. In the face of that unimaginable heartbreak, Mark Schultz somehow, some way, found a way to endure. He became a pillar of strength when literally everything around him had crumbled into dust.
So how do you even come back from that? Well, that leads to his incredible next act, finding a new frontier in jiu-jitsu. This wasn't just about learning a new sport. This was the rebirth of a master. It was a way for him to channel his grief and build something new from the ashes.
Just look at this progression. Seriously, Olympic wrestler, UFC pioneer, BJJ master. I mean, how many people on earth can claim mastery at the highest level of 3 totally different combat disciplines? It's a truly mind-blowing athletic journey.
And it's not like he just dabbled in BJJ. No, he went all in. He excelled, earning his black belt and becoming a renowned coach himself. He took all that pain, all that resilience he had forged, and used it to inspire a whole new generation of martial artists.
So when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway from this incredible life? Well, that brings us to our final section, the legacy of resilience.
because Mark Schultz's story proves he is so much more than just an athlete.
His legacy is it's huge. He's the guy who connected that ancient art of wrestling to modern MMA. He combined that explosive, raw power with the sharp mind of a technician. But above all that, he stands as a symbol of resilience, living proof that you can face the absolute worst life has to offer and not only survive, but find a way to thrive again.
And that really leaves us with a big question to think about. In a life like Mark Schultz's, a life filled with so much triumph and tragedy, so much power and pain, where does the body's physical strength actually end, and where does the mind's incredible will to endure truly begin?